Welcome to the special playoff segment edition of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast. My name is Sean Coleman, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where at Locked On Grizzlies, we give you all the latest news, perspective, and insight on your Grizzlies every day. It's been a blast covering this team this season, my first season with the Locked On Podcast Network. And for the youngest team in the NBA, it's been a second straight season of exceeding expectations. Now, it's been up and down at times. In January, the Grizzlies were the top defensive team in the NBA. And then in April, they were the top offensive team in the NBA. But yet, for stretches this season of multiple weeks, the Grizzlies have played like a bottom 10 offense and defense at the same time. So goes it covering and following the youngest team in the NBA, especially a team in the NBA that has suffered injuries to many of its best talents. But at the end of the day, health is on the Grizzlies side and depth is on the Grizzlies side. That is one thing that's been looked upon with this Grizzlies team that many around the league have waited for, to see how much of an asset their depth could be. At times it's been great, at other times it has not been. But at the end of the day, health is on the Grizzlies side, and that certainly is a great contrast compared to earlier this season. But one thing that stands out when you get to the playoffs is how you're going to narrow your depth when you need to put your best players in the best positions to win. And with that in mind, the Grizzlies have thrown out a few starting lineups this year. But I think that their recent decision to go back with the starting lineup that was thought to be the starting lineup all along when this Grizzlies team was going to be healthy was Ja Morant at the point, Dillon at the 2, Kyle Anderson at the 3, Jaren at the 4, and Jonas Valanciunas at the 5. That starting lineup probably is the best collection of talents the Grizzlies can put out there at any one time to combat playing against more talented teams, as they will be doing in their pursuit of the playoffs. With that being said, I think another aspect that plays into things is the health of Grayson Allen, who has been the most consistent starter besides Ja, Dillon, Kyle, and Jonas this season. He suffered an abdominal strain last week. Earlier this week, his status was called week to week by Taylor Jenkins. So that kind of puts some doubt on feeling as if Grayson will be at 100% health over the next several days when it comes to the Grizzlies' playoff pursuits. If he's healthy, you certainly want him in the rotation. If not, well, then it's going to have to be other players stepping up. Besides the starters, the four other players who I think certainly are going to be in the rotation mix off the bench are Tyus Jones, DeAnthony Melton, Desmond Bane, and Brandon Clark. If Grayson Allen were to stay on the injured list and not be able to play, I think Xavier Tillman comes into play. If Grayson's healthy, the Grizzlies are going to feature their shooting strengths. If he's not, they may rotate a bit to feature their front court depth. But with their starting lineup and bench in mind, I think Kyle Anderson stands out as a player who needs to continue to step up as a secondary facilitator, defender, and catch-and-shoot three-point option in the starting lineup. Off the bench, it's DeAnthony Melton, who has been an absolute momentum changer in the Grizzlies' favor every time he stepped on the court, almost in every game this season off the bench. Against other second units, he needs to emerge as the best player among both teams' second units in several of the Grizzlies' games going forward for them to have the best chance to win. And when it comes to this Grizzlies team, the thing about it is this, is that their strengths and weaknesses are not hard to find. Their strengths are passing the basketball, producing in the paint, and creating advantages through hustle. That's the reason why they lead the league in terms of points in the paint. That's why they're among the league's best in terms of second chance points, points off turnovers, creating turnovers. That's why they lead the league in possessions per game. That is where they create their advantage, by getting extra shot attempts through creating turnovers, second chance points, and also getting out on the fast break. It also fits their strengths to produce in the paint in the half-court offense. The Grizzlies are going to have to get back to doing that at an elite level to be able to counter the fact that they once again are struggling a bit when it comes to shooting the three. Over the past 3 weeks, the Grizzlies are a bottom 5 team in terms of shooting the three. That's a big weakness for this Grizzlies team, is its ability to shoot the three. It's going to have to improve on that ability to be able to have the best chance to play against teams that are more talented and can shoot the three well in the near future. At the end of the day, as I mentioned all season, the Grizzlies' ability to shoot the three and defend the three is what's going to make the difference for them in scenarios where they're playing more talented teams. And if they could shoot the three at a league average rate while defending the three at an above average rate, which they've been able to show at times this season, if they could do both of those things consistently, that's going to be the biggest reason why this Grizzlies team makes the playoffs. Another thing that really helps the Grizzlies out is that over the past 2 months, they've had several instances as reference points to show them that they certainly have the capability to make the most of a situation where they're playing playoff teams. They were able to beat the Heat, the Hawks, and the 76ers in early April when this Grizzlies team was playing at an all-time high, an all-time franchise high when it came to offense. When it comes to late April, they were able to go on the road against a team that's guaranteed to make the playoffs in the Portland Trailblazers and take 2 straight games from Portland. Not guaranteed to make the playoffs, but it looks very likely to make the playoffs. They went to Portland, took 2 straight games playing very effective basketball. And then just this past Tuesday, in a game where the Grizzlies really needed a statement win, they stepped up and rose to the occasion, both shooting the 3 and defending the 3 to beat the Dallas Mavericks. So there's been several big wins that the Grizzlies have as reference points that show proof that they know they have the ability to play with and beat teams that they need to beat to get to the playoffs. Of course, there's also been some inexplicable losses that have prevented the Grizzlies from being in an even more favorable position for the playoffs right now. Losses to an undermanned Clippers team, to a Pistons and Magic team that were both tanking. Earlier this season to Cleveland and Oklahoma City. Those losses have added up, and that has made the road a bit tougher than you likely would think it should be for this Grizzlies team with how well they played at times. But at the end of the day, the wins and the losses have basically washed each other out. The Grizzlies are in the spot where many expected them to be when it comes to their season overall. But that's the thing also about it. At the start of the season, the Grizzlies roster fully expected to use motivation from losing the play-in game in the 2019-2020 season to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs in the 2021 season. And they're right where many expected them to be. But that's the thing about it. Because of their success last year, the Grizzlies are in a win-win situation. If they make the playoffs, great. That allows for playoff experience for a young team. It shows that the young team has progressed and developed faster than many had anticipated to be a playoff team. It is a big thing to build on for this roster to continue its goal of becoming a sustainable winner in the near future. But if for some reason the Grizzlies don't make the playoffs, that leads to an even better draft pick. In a draft whose strength in terms of wing producers matches exactly with the Grizzlies' biggest need going forward, which is wing depth and wing production. That is another win scenario for this team. So whether they do make the playoffs or they don't make the playoffs, this team is in a very enviable position because it's win-win for them. Still being in a rebuild, still focused on the future, either playoff experience or getting as good of a draft pick as possible. Either one of those allows for this Grizzlies team to be in a better position this offseason than they were at the start of this season. And that leads me to another thing that, should not be out there. There should be no negativity when it comes to this Grizzlies team. How well this team is playing, how well several players on this team have developed, all of that should be the focus. But there are a few narratives out there, especially about the fact that, is Taylor Jenkins the right coach for this team due to the fact that they've had some inexplicable losses and they also have not performed well late in games. And also that the Grizzlies may not be that bought into Jaren Jackson Jr. I can tell you, in my opinion, those narratives could not be more false. After a season in which he was a top 6 coach in the league in the Coach of the Year voting, Taylor Jenkins once again has performed like a top 10 coach in the league this year. And I can tell you that with how much the players love him, how much they love playing for him, this franchise and fully invested in Taylor Jenkins being the coach of the future. And not just through the rebuild, but through getting this Grizzlies team to be in a consistent playoff contender. And when it comes to Jaren Jackson Jr., the fact that he has missed this season is not necessarily because his health is in question. It's just because this Grizzlies team wanted to take full advantage of making sure his health was as good as possible in a year that we've seen health be a bigger question mark than most due to outside sources outside of teams' control. So the fact that he's the fact that they kept him out to make sure he was healthy, the fact that he's come back and has shown good development in areas of his game that he needed to progress despite missing much of the season, that all is a very positive narrative from his return. So if anybody who says that either Taylor Jenkins or Jaren Jackson, that the Grizzlies are not bought into either one of them for the future, I could not disagree more. I feel besides John Morant, Taylor Jenkins and Jaren Jackson Jr. are the 2 most critical components to how successful this Grizzlies team is going to be, and for that reason, the franchise has fully bought into both of them for next season and beyond. It's going to be a really fun next few weeks for this Grizzlies team. Hopefully they're still playing at the end of that few-week stretch. It's going to take them playing at a very good level for them to be able to realize their goal of the playoffs. But also at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, the Grizzlies have certainly taken a needed step forward for the future, which has been the focus of this organization all season long, and it's going to make a really fun offseason come into play for this Grizzlies team as they continue to progress to being a sustainable winner and hopefully a few years into the future a potential title contender. Thanks so much for joining us, and we're going to have you fully covered for everything Grizzlies during the play-in and hopefully playoff seasons here on the Locked On Grizzlies podcast.